The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Apotria, joined by my good buddy Brenton Eckersley. We're here to break down this wonderful Monday, December 14th card for you guys. We got 6 games, a 5-game slate, main slate, and then we have that nice little showdown slate over there that we'll touch on as well. We'll hit all of them. But, I mean, this is – I feel like I just need to give it an introduction where it is. Brent, you absolutely crushed that initial slate for us, the leadoff slate, I guess, for this preseason, for this basketball season. So I just want to give some kudos to you. But how you doing over there, brother? How's everything been? I feel like, I missed you. It's been so long since we've had a show together that almost when I was listening to your voice, I was like tearing up. I felt like that meme where Wolverine's looking at the picture when he's laying back in bed and he's just kind of that's the feeling I had. But how you doing, man?
I love it, man. I missed you too. And yeah, it was awesome to host a pod. That's the first time I've really hosted with another person. And I love that HoopBallers given me the opportunity to do that. And Dave and I got along really well. Man, I missed you too. Well, it's been a few months. It's been a little while. So I'm really looking forward to catching up and having a laugh and getting through some of these slates and smashing them out with you again.
And that's exactly what we're gonna do, man. We're gonna keep smashing because so far so good. Preseason's been a delight, and that's what it is. It's supposed to be just fun, get a little action. You're not breaking the whole kitty on this thing. It's limit your bankroll, have some fun, get a couple profit dollars in, get that research down, just so get in the rhythm of things, just like you'll be doing during the regular season. That way, when things are, it's almost preseason for us as well as DFS players, in a way. So I'm having a good night tonight. How'd you do tonight? Did you play any slates? Or today? Hey man, I always say that.
Yeah, it is today over here for me. But yeah, look, I this type of preseason stuff, it can be really hit and miss. So I kind of tend to agree with you. Just limit what you're doing with DFS a little bit. Have some fun with it, and I'm using this, like you said, as a research time of the year. So try to catch some games, try to see what's going on with fantasy points and court time, and see what you can build up towards for the regular season. There's been some surprise packets out there. If you're saying you're going pretty well tonight, you must have some Taylor Horton-Tucker in there.
Oh yeah. All over him. I was all over him the first night, all over him again tonight. As soon as I saw that LeBron and AD were ruled out, I'm having a pretty fair night, man. A lot of the guys that actually me and Santino did a show last night. A lot of the guys that we highlighted, so far so good. Knock on wood. You never want to jinx it too much, but I still have a few guys going. I got a pretty good score. Nobody really sunk me. I did have Caboclo in a few lineups, so those ones aren't they're not top of the world winners, I guess you could say, but they'll still profit. They're still going to be winning lineups just because of everything else I had. I had Levine, I had some De'Aaron Fox, I had Rashawn Holmes, I did have Taylor Horton-Tucker, a good amount of Vucevic, good amount of Trae Young, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle. Those were a lot of my core guys that I was kind of just throwing around and then pairing some other guys with them. And they all smashed it out of the park for me. So I'm looking to keep the momentum going, man. But we're gonna jump right into this. But before we do, I'd be remiss if I didn't just give a quick shout out to some of our I can't even say the word, man. Our sponsors. There we go. I got it out.
I got it out. You got it.
What's what I mean? Presenting sponsors. I think that's what I was trying to get out, but I was botching it. But obviously, guys are going to be talking about Manscaped. We give them all the credit where it's due. This company is absolutely fantastic, and let's be real, it just pairs well with basketball because to all the ball handlers out there, before you throw on your team's gear, make sure you take care of below your waist grooming. Our partners over at Manscaped are here to save your boys from taking on a double team of nagging defenders. So you stay clean and take care of yourself when it matters most. Go over to Manscaped, guys. Use that promo code HoopBall20. You'll receive 20% off plus free shipping, and that's for plenty of products. Whether you want to get the Crop Reviver, the Perfect Package 3.0, the Lawnmower 3.0. I've been actually waiting. I'm waiting on it. It didn't come in yet, but I'm getting the ear and nose hair trimmer. So there's plenty of options, plenty of products, guys. Use that promo code. Get them all. Put them in a basket, and you'll save 20% off using HoopBall20. That is HoopBall Check them out. And obviously, guys, we always have a ton of stuff going on over here at HoopBall. So I just want to take a second, give a quick shout out to Brew in his Brews Letter. So if you're not already subscribed to the Brews Letter, guys, I don't know what you're doing. Just go over to HoopBall. That's HOOP-BALL.com. And sign up for the Brews Letter. It is absolutely free. You get a letter by the company man himself sent directly to your email. And this is a letter that you can only get through your email. You can't find this on the website unless you're subscribed. Packed with just all these wealth of information that you can use during your fantasy season. He touches on all the things that he notices, and we're talking about Brew here, guys. So, it's privileged and good information. So check that out, and you won't miss it. So we'll jump right into this, buddy. We're going to hit this showdown slate. It is a 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game over here. I could try to do my best. It's been a while, so what's a 7:30-ish, 7:30 a.m. for you over there?
What time you got there now? About 10 p.m.?
Yeah, so if this game starts at 6 p.m. my time, that would be about 7:30 a.m. your time that this game starts.
No, a little bit later. So 6 p.m. your time roughly translates to about 8:30, 9:30, something like that.
All right. There you go. A nice cup of coffee with the game in the morning for you.
That's it, man.
We got the Cleveland Cavs going against Indiana Pacers. Game's going to be in Indiana. As far as injuries are concerned, we do have some things to talk about on the Cleveland side of the ball. They are not expected to have Kevin Love, Sexton, Kevin Porter Jr. are all expected to be out, as well as JaVale McGee, if I'm not mistaken. He did miss that first one due to undisclosed, but I don't even know. I actually haven't read too much if he's even with the team just yet. But
and he's definitely listed as out.
All right, perfect. I appreciate that. And then we got Chetty Osman being listed as questionable, and so is Matthew Dellavedova as well. So some news to monitor over there for Cleveland. That will surely have an impact on the rotations, guys, that we're looking at for the Pacers. TJ Warren, Jeremy Lamb, and Goga all ruled out. And, that's pretty much it as far as names that we need to be concerned with for injuries. But we'll start this one off pretty simply. Cleveland, I think we definitely have to target some of these guys. It's a showdown slate. You're never just piling up on one team. For me, I'm just going for the guys that I could trust being point-per-minute guys. I'm not going to get too cute here. No Sexton, no Kevin Love, possibly no Chetty Osman. There's going to be some shots, and there's going to be some usage to go around. So, the number one guy I think we need to look at is obviously Andre Drummond. He's coming into a contract year this year, so I'm expecting big things out of Drummond, especially since he just, picked up that fat contract that you'll probably never see another one like that again. It's going to be tough for him unless he really balls out this season. But Andre Drummond, would you be looking at him as your captain? I know that when we used to do our showdown slates, you were generally trying to save in the captain, but on this kind of slate, would you look at Drummond?
What's he listed at there, Mike? I just don't have it in front of me.
He's listed at $12K if you want to put him in your captain spot right now. So that would be the highest priced player on the slate because Kevin Love and Sexton. I'm sorry, the highest priced player on the Cavs.
Yeah, on the Cavs. Yeah. So look, I mean that is fine for me. Drummond as captain, he's every chance to explode. It's going to come down to minutes. Everybody tends to have this idea that Andre Drummond is this super old dude, but he's actually not. And $12K for the captain spot for Drummond is absolutely fine. I mean, I was looking around at guys like Miles Turner, he's 11-1, and Brogdon, who's 13-5. So I know I've flipped over to Indiana there, but I was just making the comparison. I don't mind paying that much for the captain if you're going to get someone who balls out and potentially can explode.
Yeah, I think bottom line is it's been a theme for me, and it's always a theme for me during like preseason and summer league when I'm playing DFS is we pretty much have to expect limited minutes. And if you get more than limited minutes, that's a cherry on top. But I'm looking for the guys that are point-per-minute producers. Andre Drummond's a guy that we've seen double-double by the end of the first quarter before. So it can be done in 18 minutes for him. And then you're also looking at, especially on sites like DK, where you get a little bit of bonus as well. So it's those little things I think add up that make them a little bit of a safer play as well. So I'm definitely gonna be looking at some Drummond. I think, obviously with Kevin Love ruled out, Larry Nance Jr. should be forced into some decent minutes. And, we know he just can stuff the stat sheet. He's so hot and cold. Sometimes Larry Nance chalk nights end up being the worst nights of the year. But, I'll take one off the chin for him once in a while. But I want to get your thoughts on Okoro because, this kid looked great. That last game, he was all over the place. He looks like he's going to be a force defensively. He just seems like he's like very, very basketball savvy. He's got a high IQ. Like he's very like ahead of a play sometimes. So can you see yourself playing them DFS on a showdown slate? We already kind of talked about two options, and we'll get to probably my favorite option on the Cavs in a moment. But what are your thoughts on Okoro?
I love Okoro. You know, I've heard a lot of good things about him coming into the preseason, and he proved it in game one almost immediately. So I think he put up around about 25 fantasy points. It's probably you probably want a little bit more out of your captain, but you know, it depends what your strategy is. If you want to pay down, I think he's 10-2. Pay down a little bit and slot Okoro in there. You can obviously get some higher price guys on the board, so don't mind it. Not a bad play.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people tend to try to go with a 3-3 pairing, depending on if you're game scripting. But if you're trying to game script, preseason game, good luck to you. There's a reason why you don't find too many lines for these games. So, the next thing you could do is just try to, game script, which three guys for each team do you think are going to be the high scorers? I don't always look at it that aspect, but some people might do that, and Okoro might get left off the board when it comes to Drummond, Nance, and then, I think Darius Garland should probably be the chalk of this, showdown slate. I think a lot of people have him, especially with all these bodies out. He looked great in that first game. I mean, him and Okoro, both those guys looked absolutely unbelievable. But Garland, he's going to have the shot attempts. He's going to have the ball in his hand. He should see a majority of point guard, especially if Dellavedova is forced to miss. They do have some young guys that they could bring up. We'll see Exum play a little bit, but nonetheless, I think that he's probably going to be one of my favorite options on the Cavs, especially if you're just looking for some value. And I can even see throwing him in the showdown. It wouldn't surprise me if he comes out there and drops, 18 actual points.
Yeah, cool, man. I like it.
All right, brother. We'll slide it over to the Pacers side of the ball. It's a bonus, man. I think that's got to be the top guy that everyone's going to be looking at over here. He came out in that first game and double-doubled, looked great. Was one of the highest scorers on the night for, I guess you could say, priced up guys. And Brogdon didn't play too bad himself. So those are the two guys I primarily look at. What can we expect from minutes? Santino, I think he touched on it on one of the earlier shows I was listening to. These guys, they're veterans. They've all played. Even got, we can even talk about Brogdon, Oladipo, guys that have injury problems in their past. But bottom line is there's a new coach in there, and they need to get used to the system. So I'm not expecting these guys, play 30 minutes or anything like that. But I also don't expect them to be limited around 16 or 17. I would expect around 20 to 24 minutes minimum. And I expect these guys to still be able to produce against this Cleveland team that, they're pretty much hobbled at best with all these guys resting and sitting. And, I lackadaisical on defense as is. So Sabonis and Brogdon are two guys that I'm going to be more than okay with playing. I'll probably just lock them into the showdown slate.
Yeah, I like both of those calls. And, the Brogdon one is probably the one for me. I think Sabonis is going to be high owned in this one, especially in the captain spot. So I'll probably move away and try and slot him into a regular spot and maybe use Brogdon. And as I said before, I like to pay down a little bit for captain, so I will have some Miles Turner as well.
All right. Miles Turner is that one guy I just never play. I don't have really good reasoning behind it. I never get him right. He's
not sexy, man. He's not a sexy play, but he can. Look, the bottom line for me with Miles Turner is he was terrible last year, and before that he wasn't terrible. So I expect a bounce back season from Miles Turner here. It may not happen this game, but I'm going to be, backing him in more often than not. And I can see him going. Well, not just while we're talking DFS, but season-long fantasy. I can see him slipping in my drafts, and I'm happy to pick him up at the moment. So, he's not the sexiest player in the world, but if you just need solid points, I think he's going to have a bounce-back season.
Let me just write that down and take a couple notes, because we do have a draft coming up in about a week together.
Yeah,
Brett,
and you're picking before me.
Yeah, right before you. So let me just write that down.
That's all right. I'm picking before you on the turn.
We just have to have a few more podcasts before the show that I can just squeeze as much information out of you.
I'm keeping that stuff right. Can we rewind? Can we go back? Take this bit out.
That's in there. So let's keep it moving. We got the next one. We're going to move on to the main slate now, guys. So we have the 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game, first one of the night. It's the Toronto Raptors traveling Charlotte, going against the Hornets. So we kind of just saw that debut of LaMelo Ball. And, while I didn't start, man, I was impressed. Needless to say, the flash, the passing prowess that he has, that is that ball trait. It's there. The shot wasn't falling, but, I'm not worried about that. Kid's 19. I didn't expect him to shoot well, but everything else, he fit the bill of. But we'll start with Toronto. We'll start with this team. Kyle Lowry is still going to be away from the team. The team gave him permission to miss the first 2 games simply because he is a savvy veteran. He does not need to be there. Outside of that, there's really nothing else to be concerned with. Patrick McCaw's being listed as questionable, but not a guy that really finds himself in the rotation anyway. And then as far as Charlotte's concerned, I think we pretty much have everybody outside of Malik Monk. He was dealing with an illness. He wasn't available for Saturdays. So right now he's still being listed as out, but we'll have to monitor that because if he's feeling better, he might be able to suit up in this game. But let's start with Toronto. Brent, I'll pass it over to you. Why don't you give me some of the guys you're looking to target with Lowry's absence?
Immediate go-to plug-in play is Freddie VanVleet, 6,600 on DK. That's too cheap for Freddie usually. And with Lowry out and already showing out in the first preseason game, I love that price for VanVleet. He's probably going to be a bit chalky, but I think I'm just going to have to play him anyway. We're seeing from the first couple of rounds of preseason games that like you said, they're not getting full minutes and we never expected them to. But to be honest, I thought we may see a lot more younger guys out there playing higher minutes than some of these stars, and it's not coming to fruition. So that may be the shorter preseason that we're in the middle of. They just need to get these guys up and running faster and get the team chemistry going. So Freddie VanVleet at 6,600, love it. The flip side of that in the backcourt for me with Lowry out is Norm Powell. Basically, I'm really only considering this a pivot play, and I'd much rather have VanVleet. But Norm Powell didn't have a great game in the first matchup, but look, it's Norm Powell. He can go off shooting wise in bunches at any time. So at 5,200 on DK, if he gets to 20 minutes, he could go big at any time. I know there's another guy in the backcourt I'm targeting here, but what about you?
No, I think both those guys are probably the immediate go-to options that we'd be looking at. Both the roles pretty secure. I wouldn't, expect anything more than maybe 20, 24 minutes, but we've seen Powell just get hot, and VanVleet able to chip in with the assist. It surely helps. I think I have an idea of the other guy that you're talking about. If he's in the backcourt, are you going to mention a little Matt Thomas?
Yeah, I am. I mean, we saw this guy come out. I think it was mostly late in the season last year. It was possibly when Lowry was dealing with some injuries. I can't quite recall. But yeah, he just played off the chain in the first one. So he's clearly in the Raptors' plans as some kind of backup, and he played 22 minutes in the Saturday slate. So had a nice little outing that would probably please Nick Nurse no end, and certainly pleased me as a DFS player. At 4,800, I've got no problems seeing if he can do it again and dropping him back in there.
All right, man. I like it. Well, actually, Nurse came out and gave him a little praise, saying that basically him and Boucher, they're going to have roles, and he just needs to, help find those roles and exactly what they're going to be doing. But they will have roles. And then I think both those guys were also the first 2 players off the bench for the Raptors in that first preseason game. So I'm with you. I think Thomas, he's a lights-out shooter. A very, very complimentary guy to have in a rotation, especially for a team that's looking to contend. So. I could definitely get behind having a couple shares of him. Outside of those 3 backcourt guys, is there anybody in the front court? I'm not really playing too much Siakam right now. I just think, spending up, there's a few other guys I'd probably rather spend up my cash on. And then for me, I'm just, between Aaron Baines and Boucher. If I have to pick one, I'm playing Boucher just because it's a preseason game and he's a better point per minute guy. We saw him. I think he chipped in 3 blocks in that last game very, very quickly. So that's it for me. I don't know if you want to leave anything else on the table for the Raptors, though.
No, I'm not looking at Aaron Baines, but I have heavily highlighted in green here Chris Boucher at 4,700. I mean, he played 15 minutes in the last one. He put up 9, 4, and 2 with a steal, and as you mentioned, 3 blocks. That's nuts. That's all we need. And if he somehow gets up to 20, 22 minutes, he is obviously a points per minute monster, and he's one of my favourite power forward plays on this slate, especially at a lower price tag. Load up.
There we go. Let's keep it moving on to the other team, the Charlotte Hornets. So we touched on it. No real injury news to really be concerned with outside of Monk that we have to monitor. But for me, it's simple with the Hornets, man. I might have a share or 2 in LaMelo, and I'm probably cutting it off there. Just, not feeling too comfortable about a lot of these minutes. I do love Gordon Hayward this season. I will be playing a ton of Gordon Hayward during a preseason game where he might have his minutes limited. It's normally a pretty tough matchup against Toronto anyway. I know it's preseason and all, but got to take into the fact that OG might spend some time on him. For all those reasons, I'll probably limit myself to LaMelo. Just the fact that this dude was able to grab double-digit boards while chipping in some dimes, didn't score, all unlimited minutes off the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds himself in the starting lineup at some point throughout this preseason, just to see what it looks like. But either way, he should be good for his playing time. How about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much straight down the line with you. I am having a little look at PJ Washington. He's a bit of a middle out kind of DFS or fantasy player, but the minutes should be there. He's going to start all year and he can play the 4 or the 5. So PJ's on my radar at 4,400. Completely fading Gordon Hayward, as you said. He just is not the guy who can score massive DFS points for us in low minutes. He's more of a builder, if you like. If he gets his 30, 34 minutes, he's always going to be in the DFS conversation, but not preseason. Nah. LaMelo, I can see him starting this team sometime in the regular season. I think, you said you're looking at it in the preseason at some stage. I think at some point this kid takes over. He's given the keys to the team at the point guard position, and man, 10 rebounds, 4 assists in 16 minutes. That's something to really be excited about. And I didn't see this game, but I saw the highlights. And man, I tell you what, assists make me wet. I love watching kids throw this kid throw assists around. He has got vision.
That look where he just slingshotted it down
the court. Just amazing. This was my game when I played, so this is why assists make me so happy. I had nothing else. I had assists. I had really good vision, and I could throw those kinds of passes. But nothing to back it up with. So, look, assists aren't the be all and end all for DFS. But the kid's got such a bright future, man. 5,100 on DK, sure. Slot him in some lineups and see how he goes.
Absolutely. All right, man, we'll keep it moving to the next game. It's another 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. We have the New Orleans Pelicans traveling to Miami, take on the Heat. As far as injuries are concerned, we'll start with the Pelicans. We have Bledsoe, J.J. Redick, and Wenyen Gabriel all ruled out. And then we'll have to keep an eye on Steven Adams. He's being listed as questionable at the moment. Wouldn't be shocked, again, just take it like a 60-40 chance that he sits, knowing that it's preseason. We'll start. Actually, maybe I should give the Miami news before we just fast forward, guys. I do apologize. Guess what? There is none. So we'll go. Unless you got something on your end.
No. I was about to say there is none, man. It's fine.
All right, perfect. So we'll start with the Pelicans, man. With these injuries, two guys that we know are going to be key rotational players in this team's backcourt. So, I would expect a little bit of a minute bumps for guys like Josh Hart. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I'd expect to play a little bit more. And Alexander Walker's a guy that I'd love to target in, preseasons and games like this where they're kind of meaningless. I'll probably be looking to target him a little bit more towards the back end of the preseason once we start to see, Alonzo sit as well and Ingram maybe sit a game so we could really get his volume shot attempts. But I wanted to mention him just so we keep an eye on him. But Alonzo, Brandon Ingram, both these guys very much in play. They're guys that can get theirs in a very short amount of time. Alonzo, he can chip in so many different ways, whether it's the rebounds, the assists, getting a couple buckets here and there, and then even his defensive stats. And Ingram, same thing. We know he's going to lead this team in the usage, and he's just going to pour it on. So I would expect double-digit shot attempts, even in limited minutes. But going against a pretty good Heat team, this team might want to see, what they can do for a little bit longer. The crux of their core is going to be pretty much pulling most of the weight this season. That's pretty much what I'm looking at. If Steven Adams does sit out, we could take a look at guys like Jackson Hayes, I think. But, we're going to want to monitor that news. And, and I wouldn't be shocked if Melly even gets a little bit of run in that kind of situation as well.
Yeah, cool. So no Zion?
I don't think I'm going to be playing too much Zion, man. I just haven't been doing it. I just don't see myself playing him. I might have him in maybe a lineup or two. But when push comes to shove, I just find myself gravitating to a few other players a little bit more.
Okay, man. 6,300 is a good price for him, though. And you did mention points per minute monsters before. If Zion's not that, I don't know what he is. So I'm just mentioning him. He's actually the guy I got listed top here. So that's just the way we view things differently. But if there's a guy who can put up, DFS points in limited minutes. He may only get 18 or 19, even though there's lots of talk about him being fully healthy. I don't mind throwing 6,300 at a guy like that. Personally, I'm actually fading Brandon, and Brandon's my favourite player, but I'm actually not taking him at 7,600. I just think it's too high. I'm not convinced. I mean, this is their first outing, I think, so I can see this being limited to 16, 17 minutes apiece, and I just don't see him as that, massive DFS all in a bunch kind of player. I see him as a bit of a longer stretch player, a longer time player. I love your Josh Hart call though. I would definitely be looking at a lot of Josh Hart in this one at 4,900. JJ Redick is out, I think, and Eric Bledsoe is out. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also been reports that Van Gundy's planning on giving his guys some pretty decent runs. So okay. I'm not opposed to playing two of these starters. So like if you wanted a pair, I know I want to play one volume score. And I want to play Alonzo. So if you wanted to pair, Lion and
Zonzo.
Yeah, Lion and Zonzo together. I think that's a great pairing. Just because you know that if the OOP game is working for them, they're both going to benefit. And like I said, we don't need Lonzo to score to get our points from him. So we can still get that volume shot taker and scorer on that team. It could be both Zion. It could be both Ingram. But we're still getting that Lonzo. I'm looking to play two of these guys. And hell, I wouldn't even be opposed if we wanted to play all three. Van Gundy said he plans on running them. Take that with a grain of salt. It is preseason. We never know. But, quote unquote, it's supposed to be around 30 minutes. And getting 30 minutes from anybody during a preseason game is delectable. That's the only reason I've been playing every single Nick. And it's been working. So that's the remedy. I can definitely see getting some Zion in that kind of scenario.
Yeah, cool. Look, I hadn't heard that news about Van Gundy saying that, so that changes a few things, I would say. I'd be more inclined to look at Ingram. If he's going to push 25, 27, 30 minutes, then it's Brandon Ingram. He's a fantasy player. You play him. So glad you told me that, man. Thanks.
Well, yeah, and like I said, it was reported in The Athletic. So it's a reputable source. I think it was Will Guillory, beat writer for the Pelicans for The Athletic. So it's a pretty reputable source. I'm putting some pretty heavy stock into it. So maybe if all three of these guys, I could even see if they're going to get 30. I wouldn't fault you for it. But at least two of them, I think, are going to make most of my lineups. I'm going to be sure of that. And like I said, I don't even knock some Jackson Hayes if we don't see Steven Adams play. I definitely could play Jackson Hayes.
I've got both your young guys written down here as well. Jackson Hayes, if Adams is out, Nickeil Alexander-Walker will probably get a boost in minutes. He got it last preseason, and then we kind of didn't see much of him in the regular season. So, yep, good call. He's a preseason player, and then you pretty much leave him alone.
Yep. All right, we'll keep it moving to the Miami Heat now. I'll pass it right over to you. I feel like I've just been talking way too much to just pop this open. I'm going to let you pop open the Heat. Why don't you start off and just let me know who you're looking at?
Sure, man, I can do that. I'm not playing any of the Heat. Back to you.
That's it. Perfect. That's what I love to hear. Yeah. So, I mean, the second, and I'm going to say this right now, the second that we hear Bam Adebayo is not playing, and maybe or Kelly Olynyk sitting in Bam, a few of these front court guys, this dude, Precious, he is a beast. He's going to be a point per minute monster. They're calling him Baby Bam. He looks like he's a defensive guy. Just keep an eye on him. He's going to be a preseason guy at some point. Probably not today, though. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you, though. Not really interested in anything outside of maybe a Tyler Hero play, but only being $300 cheaper than Zion, it's going to be tough for me to pay that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was looking at Hero and just saw a lot of other guys that I'd rather take around that 6,000 price tag. And the only other guy I even got close to talking about was Bam. And honestly, at 7,400, there's just better plays on the board at center. So we can move on, man.
Absolutely. So we'll keep it moving. We have 3 games left before we jump into the next one. Just a quick shout out to MyBookie. I hope you guys feasted on MyBookie around Thanksgiving on that Turkey Day free play that they allowed us to grab themselves a risk-free $250 bet. It was basically a free shot at trying to double your money. If you didn't get in on that, honestly, I don't know what you're doing, but seriously, get over there, get some skin in the game with MyBookie, where the odds boost, lightning deals, and free bets await all season long. And with the NFL playoffs right around the corner, we know that these teams are what they're capable of, and it's not difficult to find some value in some of these lines, especially with MyBookie, some of the best lines in the business. Whether you're a first-time customer, you've been playing with MyBookie for years, there is no shortage of value to be found in thousands of game lines unique prop bets, contests that they offer every single week. Sign up, get reloaded today, find an edge, and make your bet and get paid. They also have a fully fledged casino platform giving you access to classic table, slot, and card games you'd expect to find at any local casino or your local gambling spot. The best part is MyBookie's doors never close, so they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Make the right play, sign up for MyBookie, and when you do, use the promo code HoopBall, HOOPBALL, and you will get a 50% match on your deposit. So you deposit $200, they'll match you with a free $100 into your account. If you weren't already, feeling like you needed a play, go get some free money and enjoy yourself. So go check out mybookie.ag, guys. Promo code HoopBall. Third game, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dallas Mavericks traveling to Milwaukee, taking on the Bucks once again. Kristaps Porzingis, obviously, he is still away from the team. He will not be with them probably till at least they said January or February. And then Courtney Lee, newly signed, will not be ready. He has to go through the whole protocols. At least I think it's 6 or 7 negative tests before he can even take court. As far as the Bucks are concerned, we don't really have anything to really monitor with them, outside of maybe just the regular minutes limitations and restrictions. But we'll start with this Dallas team. Why don't you break down who you're looking at?
Yeah, sure, man. Interesting you mentioned the Bucks minutes limits. They were up amongst the highest for their starters in the first couple of slates that we've seen. They're playing a few of their starters 24 minutes a night. So that was interesting to see from Budenholzer. But moving on to Dallas, Luka, 8,900. That's a steep price, and it's one of the highest price on the slates. But it's Luka. He can go off at any point and doesn't need a full allotment of minutes, Mike. So I'm talking to the wrong guy here. I know who I'm talking to. He just loves to play, man. I love watching Luka. I love the joy, and I love the amount of enjoyment he gets out of it. And if he gets anywhere past 22, 24 minutes, you could see one of the biggest scores of the night. There are some guys on this slate that are capable of the same thing, but Luka's got to be considered for this. There's just a chance they want to, maybe see how the Josh Richardson fits a little more and maybe extend both of them a little bit more. So, yeah, I'll be definitely having some Doncic in this one. So, yeah, I'll back to you. I'll switch off my mic and unplug it and go make a coffee. Talk about Luka.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you don't need to talk me too much onto Luka. I mean, the 16 minutes that he played in that game was a little underwhelming. We want to see more than that. It's tough to trust anybody with 16 minutes. I would love to see the 22-24. So as much as I'd love to 100% lock smash them, I can't do that because of that 16-minute game. I do think we see more of this one. Probably more towards, like you said, that 20 to 22 range. So for that reason, I will have some shares. I think when push comes to shove, I would probably generally prefer Giannis in this kind of scenario. I think, given, Giannis playing 20 minutes, 22 minutes, and Luka's 20 to 22 minutes, I think are not necessarily even. Giannis, with the way the energy he plays within the beginning of the game, it's generally when he gets most of his points. So I don't mind taking a stab at him on the other side. But that's it. I'm not really looking at too much on Dallas outside of that little maybe share or two of Luka. If you want to, get some stones and throw Tim Hardaway Jr. in there. Milwaukee was pretty weak against the 3-point line. I mean, the addition of Drew Holiday might change some things, but they gave up a ton of 3-pointers last season. But that's it for me, man, for the Dallas side.
Kleber? No Kleber?
No, I don't see myself really probably landing on too much Kleber. I'm a big Kleber guy. Don't get me wrong. I know that he can get it done in multiple ways, whether it's threes or blocks. He could chip in again, but we've already talked, I think, about one or two bigs or a couple forwards, especially between Zion and Ingram. We talked about Boucher, another forward in that Toronto game. We still have 2 games left, so I just don't know if he'll make the cut. And I eventually, especially in preseason, I try not to have big player pool because I don't roll out 20 to 50 lineups during preseason. I just don't see that being the smart option, the smart way to play. So I really cut back on my player pool. Play less guys. Really try to hone in on the guys that I really want to play and get some interest in and get some exposure to, and ride it out. Make some decent lineups with them. 5, maybe 5-10 lineups, and that's it. Different combinations.
Know how many lineups I've got on my Australian website today?
Oh, let me hear it.
2.
Ooh. I'm sure those are going to be two good lineups, and that's that. I mean, listen, I don't knock any of that. I mean, that's the way I grew up playing. I think up until about 3 years of playing and getting action, I was a one lineup a night guy, and that was it. And it goes to show. I mean, like I had some of my best success during that time as well. So whatever works for you, whatever's best for your bank account, whatever you see the most profit for, that's what you should continue doing.
Oh man, this is not the way I normally play. I mean, I'm a multiple lineup guy like you, but this is preseason and there's so much up in the air, anything can happen. So I looked at it and went, you know what? Two lineups will do me tonight. Cut that off right there and just keep the bankroll intact. But yeah.
All right, man, let's slide over to Milwaukee. I gave my sentiments on Giannis. You know, that little injury scare, that worries me. Is that enough to be like, all right, that was it? We don't need to play him anymore. We'll give him 16, 14 minutes and call it a day. Let him play the first quarter, and that's it. That very well could happen.
Yeah.
That wouldn't shock me. But it's not enough to just completely scare me off of him entirely. So I will have some exposure to Giannis, and if I think I have to pick one between him and Luka, it pains me to say, but it might be Giannis. I think I might play Giannis over Luka. Both these guys have been two of my favorite players. I mean, Giannis is a guy that I followed since the minute he's came into the league and even before then. So, it doesn't pain me to say it that much. Outside of him, though, I'm not really going to too much more. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, both these guys are in play, but they're not the same point per minute guys that Giannis is, where if they're playing 20 to 22 minutes, I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of them. So I'll probably take a pass on them.
Yeah, cool. The only thing I'll drop in there is that small forward is looking a little thin tonight, so I do have a little bit more interest in Chris Middleton. He's one of the guys that I will rarely play, probably because just batshit boring. He does what he does, and there's no major upside with him. But small forward's looking a little thin, so I did have a look at Chris Middleton here.
We already locked in Ingram. He's there. Don't even worry about small.
Ingram.
Don't even worry about him. Don't even worry about that small forward.
Not me. Okay.
Anything else over there, or is that pretty much it? I get it though. The scarcity's there. The position is pretty weak when I'm looking at small forward. So I do get why you're looking at Middleton. It's simply position scarcity, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Bobby Portis. Everybody on the Bobby Portis train. No, I am having nothing to do with that. Giannis, yeah, absolutely. Could he have his minutes drop back here like you mentioned? Sure. Do you want to miss out if he doesn't? No. That's about it for me.
All right. We'll keep it moving to the final 8 o'clock game, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Memphis Grizzlies going to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. As far as injuries, we'll start with Memphis. Jaren Jackson Jr. is still recovering from his knee. He's still not, kind of in the Porzingis area where he's not expected back until at least sometime in January. Justice Winslow out as well. Brandon Clark is being listed as questionable. Last I checked, he's more considered doubtful, dealing with a groin strain at the moment. They want to get him right. He looks like he could be their opening starting power forward on opening night. There you go, mouthful. It didn't come out right. And then we'll slide over to the Minnesota side of the ball as far as injuries are concerned. Nothing really to be too concerned with, just Naz Reid. I believe he's already been ruled out. He's self-isolating, actually, so he's not even with the team. But that's really it. So we'll start over here with this Memphis Grizzlies team. John Morant put on a clinic in that first preseason game in limited minutes and just showing why this kid's an unbelievable talent. He's going to be one of these elite point guards for probably the better half of the next 10 to 15 years. It looks like this kid's an absolute stud. 8,800, he's priced right there with Luka, right there with Giannis. How do you feel about him?
I feel pretty good about him. He's a kid that is just full of energy. He's durable. He's strong. He's leading this team like he owns them, and I love it. 8,800, sure, it's high. It's around that Luka and Giannis price, but he played nearly 25 minutes in game one, and that stat line is just crazy, like 24 and 11 with 2 threes and 1 turnover in that time. That's what we love to see. I'd love to see him do the same kind of thing here. I probably won't have as much to do with Morant as I do with the other 2 guys, but I don't think you can go wrong with it. I think it's a lock and load price.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think I prefer the other 2 guys over him, just because we know from a point per minute standpoint what those other 2 guys are just capable of, where everything was clicking for Ja in that game. I'm not saying like he can't do that again. He's going to be a future All-Star, but bad games are probably more prone to happen to Ja Morant than they are to Giannis and Luka.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what about this front court though? Because without Brandon Clark, him being doubtful, they're missing Jaren Jackson Jr. Jonas played well. I believe he played like 22 minutes. I believe in that last one. There should be a couple minutes that are up for grabs. Is there anybody in the front court, including Jonas Valanciunas, that you're looking at?
I've actually got Jonas written down as a strong fade here, and that's probably more to do with me being pretty damn interested in Zion tonight. You can pay down almost $2K for Zion Williamson, and you can pay that's coming up, so about $1,000 lower for another center coming up. Jonas was strong in the first one, but I'm looking at other guys around here, so I'm fading him.
Yeah, so I'm not ready just to full out fade. I'm with you though. I do think that we have some better value, but I've also found myself several times just leaving money on the table anyway. Half the time I don't even need the money. So I'll find myself throwing him into one or two lineups. I could see it happening. The matchup against Minnesota is a good one. Karl-Anthony Towns couldn't defend himself out of a wet paper bag. So I do have a little bit of interest there. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see Kyle Anderson play a little bit of the 4. He's been playing a lot of their 3, but knowing that they're going to be a little bit shallow at that position, I wouldn't be shocked if they just move him up. I don't think that they really have a necessity to play Anthony Tolliver at this stage in his age career. Plenty of minutes during the preseason. Instead, they might just want to mix and match with some of the younger guys. We could see Tillman. Tillman was actually getting some playing time too, so another guy to keep an eye on, but not a general main play of mine in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, cool. I've got Kyle Anderson down here as a mid-price kind of stab. He had a good outing last time. I don't expect much from Kyle Anderson on a night-to-night basis, but yeah, there's some movement there in rotation and positional changes for him to slot into. So it's not worth it. It could be worth a look. Apologies.
All right, let's move over to Minnesota now. We have some high-priced guys we could choose from. Karl-Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell. Only $300 separates them. Do you prefer one over the other? And if so, why?
Probably Cat. Look, we all have guys that we don't play very often, and D'Angelo is one of those for me. I just think Cat at 8,600 is too cheap. He didn't have a great night out first night. That's fine. But I would probably much rather take Towns at, what is he? I'm just going to say slightly higher than Jonas Valanciunas, and hope for the explosion. He wasn't enthralling in the first match on Saturday, but only 21 minutes. And just keep in mind he missed 9 field goal attempts in that one, so don't expect that kind of bad shooting to continue from Cat for too long. I don't mind the opportunity of a bounce back game here.
All right, yeah, no, I'm with you. I'd probably prefer Cat over Russell as well for the $300 difference. Probably won't see myself playing either one of them too much, though. Then we have some of these ancillary guys. Your Ricky Rubio, Michael Beasley. I think both these guys started last game. Both of them should be in play. If I'm going to play one or the other, kind of gravitating a little bit towards Beasley just because we know he can just get hot at one of those times, and he's not that shy. So, but it's going to be tough for probably me to pencil in either one of these guys. The more I think about it, Minnesota is just not a lot to love right now for me. But again, I think Beasley would probably be my main target if I'm looking anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not looking at too much else for the Wolves here, except just a big red line through Ricky Rubio in the preseason. 12 minutes in the first one. We know he's back up. And yeah, I'm just staying away from him completely in the preseason, and unless we see a stark change to game plan or a minutes increase or an injury. Touch wood.
Yep, exactly. Last game of the night, Phoenix Suns going against the Utah Jazz. Game playing in Utah. As far as injuries are concerned, it's gonna be a mouthful. We got a little bit. We got the Phoenix Suns right now. We got to keep an eye on Chris Paul. He's expected to make his debut, perhaps, possibly, maybe. Listed as questionable, sat out the last game with ankle soreness, but decent chance Chris Paul could suit up. So just keep monitoring that. And right now, Jay Crowder is also being listed as questionable along with Dario Saric. Then we'll slide over to the Utah side of the ball. Mike Conley being considered questionable, as is Royce O'Neal. Both these guys obviously integral parts of this rotation and will have an aspect on who we're targeting. So we'll start with this Phoenix team. A lot to like this season. I think a lot of people are excited about it. A lot of big names that we can look at. I know you mentioned the Sun there being about $100 cheaper than Towns, and I think he might be in this game. So why don't you lay it on me?
We might be talking about different Suns here. Are you talking about Booker?
Ooh, is that who you're talking about? I thought you said a center.
Oh, center. Sorry, I thought you said a son. Yes, no, I'm talking about a center, and this is the one. It's Ayton. When I mentioned fading Jonas for the lowest for a lower price center who can potentially match or beat the output, it's absolutely DeAndre. I like him here. He's a full 1.1K cheaper than JV and he's just ready to roll. He's one of the best players on the board for me tonight at that price. Top 30 fantasy points on Saturday. Played 22 minutes, and that could increase. We all know what this kid's capable of. It's just smash. And if Chris Paul plays, which is probably unlikely, but if Chris Paul happens to suits up, you can put that smash in capital letters because he's just going to get all the feeding off of Chris Paul that he can handle.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I love DeAndre Ayton's game. I think this kid, when it's clicking for him, he's an all-star, and it's not even close. It's just his game's complete, on both sides. It's just, sometimes you just feel he plays like he's not into it. He's had some off-the-court issues and, some practice issues and a few other things like that. But it's a tough matchup. I think that's worth noting, going against Rudy Gobert, going against that Utah. It's preseason, but the pace might still be a little bit slower. But I'll definitely have him in a lineup or two. I'm kind of with you. I think I'd rather play him over a guy like Jonas. Just that savings, we might end up needing that if it comes down to you're not needing to worry about the money. I might still prefer Jonas, but the $1,000, I found myself in a few occasions actually trying to cram extra guys in there and needing that money. But it all comes down to construction. I think that's what it boils down to. As far as Booker, I don't think I'm playing Booker 87. I already talked about Giannis. I already talked about Luka. I think we both kind of on the page that those two guys are the top options for both of us. Yeah. And then what about the ancillary guys?
Sorry, man. You can get Freddie VanVleet for $2,100 less than Booker. So, yeah.
Good call. That's actually a real good point. Any of these wings, like your Cam Johnson, your Bridges, I guess we can even throw in Jay Crowder if he's healthy. Any of those guys stand out to you?
Nah, I'll leave that little wing rotation alone for now until we see how it plays out. Cam Johnson I think he was pretty poor on Saturday, so no interest there. But Javon Carter popped out of nowhere. That was really interesting. It's a name that I just completely skipped over on that last slate, and it does make sense. If Ricky Rubio's limited to 12 minutes and Chris Paul's not playing, someone's got to run the point, and he came out of nowhere and did a nice little surprise packet.
Oh, well, actually, don't forget, Rubio is with the Timberwolves again.
Oh, man.
So he is actually their primary, outside of campaign. And he, at this stage in their careers, is significantly better than Cameron Payne. He should be their primary ball handler if we don't see him. So that's a great call. I actually was looking to skip right over him as well. So I'm glad you brought him up. That's worth noting. I'll put a little star next to the name. Appreciate that.
Glad I brought him up too, so I can remember that Rubio no longer plays for this team. That's good, man.
It's still early. It's still early. It's early in the day for you over there, and it's early in the season for everybody. So, no fault. Listen, the amount of times I'll probably slip up and forget a thing here and there, it's ridiculous. Shortened season, preseason for us too, off season. I mean, so we didn't get our normal. 4 months off that we'd be able to kind of recoup. We had 2. We had to do it quickly.
And it was crazy. There's a lot of movement.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially the once free agency hit, it was so compressed until it's just like that week that it was just lighting, binging. Every day my Twitter notifications going off the wall. But Utah Jazz, I think the major players, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. I don't see myself playing Rudy Gobert limited minutes. I just don't want to do that. As far as Donovan Mitchell's concerned, 7,800. It's Donovan Mitchell. This dude can just light it up very quickly. Will I end up playing him? Probably not. I just don't see myself doing it.
Man, I'm pretty much the same. Like again, I'll just fall back on Freddie. 7,800 for VanVleet and Freddie. 7,800 for Mitchell. Yeah, he could light it up, but VanVleet's a whole lot cheaper, and I'll just keep sticking on that Freddie train.
Yeah, and I'm not really interested in your Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich dealing with that wrist injury. I'm not trying to play that guy with a wrist injury. All set with that. The only other guy maybe I could consider is Clarkson, just because we know he's just a walking a walking bucket. He'll shoot 13 times in 16 minutes and be perfectly fine with that. So that's it, though. And he would kind of just be looking for like a low-owned option. GPP
and probably only if Conley's out.
Yeah, I would expect him to still probably play, roughly like the same amount of minutes, regardless if Conley's in or out. To be honest, just because I don't think they're going to play Conley 30 plus anyway, and I think they were going to probably divvy these minutes up between Clarkson and Moutier and probably another younger guy that they I think they drafted a point guard if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if between those three guys they take the 48 minutes and give them to them if Conley's out, and if Conley plays. Conley probably plays 16. We see Clarkson play time at the 2 and the 1. He'll probably still get his 20 to 21 minutes regardless.
Yeah, good call, man. I like all that. And that's it for me, for Utah as well.
All right. That is it. That was it, man. That was the slate. That was our first slate together, and boy, did it feel good to be back. I'm glad we did it. And I would say pretty quick, 50 minutes. 50 minutes is not bad.
That's not bad. We had to catch up first. It's been a couple of months since we've spoken. We had to do the socializing and I miss you, man, and the tears in your eyes stuff. So.
Absolutely, and it was well worth it. I actually, I was thinking about it for the past 3 days. I had it marked in my calendar. It's like Sunday night is Brenton Day, but. We'll thank you guys for listening. If you guys have a quick minute and you want to go give us a nice little follow on Twitter, we'll appreciate it. And that way you can, contact us anytime you have a question, any concern with your lineups, whatever it may be. Go give us a nice little follow. You can find me at Mike Apotria. That's MikeApotria. And you can find Brenton at Terrain72. That's TERRAIN72. And if you're not already subscribed, go subscribe to the podcast, guys. You can find it anywhere you can find podcasts: iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, you name it. You can find it there, and leave us a nice comment, a rate, and review. We really do appreciate it. It means a lot to us. It allows us to keep this show going in front of a paywall and just keep trying to provide the best content that we could for you guys. And if you haven't already, go check out hoopball.com. That's hoop-ball.com. And sign up for the Fantasy Pass, guys. It's an absolute steal right now. You can get $4.99. We have a DFS pass in there where you can get access to our Discord, where you get live access to our pros on a nightly basis before the lineups lock. So a lot of good stuff coming on this. We're going to have Hoopball TV. Lots of fantastic stuff on the way, guys. So that's all we have for you. I don't think I would be myself, Brenton, if I didn't do this. And, we never planned it out, and I wouldn't want it any other way. But, Brenton, why don't you take us out? It's been a while.
I knew this was coming, man.
You did. You probably had it written down already because you knew.
I'm sitting here listening to that last little, read off of you just wrapping things up. I'm like, Mike's going to throw to me here, isn't he? So let's do it. So you have been listening to DFS Today, a Hoopball production. He is Mike Apotria. My name is Brenton Eckersley. It's a trans-Pacific podcast between Connecticut and Adelaide. We love you guys. Give us a follow. We'll catch you next time. See you later.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.